Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And think about Phil Swift attending a childbirth. Wow, that's a lot of damage. But with flex tape, she's as good as new. Oh, God, I love that one so much. But we did a live stream last night, and the 20 sided die picked out the Ganzo G745. And if you're not familiar with what happens there, I have a 20 sided die that I roll to pick from 4 different knives. This one's been in the rotation for the last 3 live streams, I think, because all the guys that watch these regularly, or enough of them, recommended getting a Ganzo with the 440C to test that out, and I wanted to compare modern 440 with the 440 from 1980 on my Buck 110. Now, it should be known I don't really rock with Ganzo because if I buy one, I don't know whether or not I'm getting a clone or what it's a clone of, and I don't really want to support clones on this channel. Just the combination of IP theft, and I'm not comfortable with it, personally. I won't give you crap for buying them, it's just not for me. So this was just put in here for the 440C steel. And we went through 4 hours of chopping the cardboard up, but let's take a look at what we got first. So we have our pocket clip, and it's tip up, which is the Lord's carry, and we got an axis lock and thumb studs. So let's flick the axis lock. Yeah, that one doesn't sound as compelling, but we have got about 3 inches of blade, a hair over, and again, 440C steel, and a slight hollow grind into a swedge up top here. So on the cut, this performed a lot like the spear point Boker Kalashnikov that we did earlier. It goes into the tip of the hollow right here, and because this is not flat, it drops back away. Those cuts tend to trail side to side. Now, for the entire evening, I had just kind of a weird mix of results. So some cuts, they went beautifully and cut straight through. For some cuts, the cardboard started wadding up and rolling instead of cutting at the bottom of those cuts. And a lot of them I had to push a lot harder than I expected. We're on to the tougher cardboard from work, just the stuff they ship us product in. Those boxes have a higher edge crush test rating, somewhere in the 44-pound range. And those heavier duty cardboard boxes are pretty tough to cut up. They don't look that tough, but it's hard to really get good clean cuts on them where it just glides right through. So we had kind of our usual mixed results. It was a little bit weird, which I think may come down to the grind on this thing. We kind of had the same thing with the Kalashnikov that had a very similar grind. So, the grind on it held up well enough. Like, it would definitely work well as an EDC blade. No really major complaints there, just some confusion. Like, I can't quite figure out why some of the cuts the cardboard just wads up and rolls, and some of it are nice clean cuts. The edge alignment was pretty much the same, especially now that it's turning into so much of a routine that the edge alignment doesn't change that much over time. But, it handled it well enough, and the steel took 4 hours of nonstop cutting, and it's still holding a respectable edge. Like, let's take a look at the edge real quick. This hasn't been stropped. I did not strop it at the end of the live stream just because it was doing so well. But let's see if I can get this cut under the camera. Not quite the cut I wanted, but you can kind of see what's happening there. So it's still holding on to an edge. It's a little bit better of a cut when I'm not under the camera. But still, it's holding on to an edge. And of course, the cuts were a lot cleaner last night, like that right there. However, the edge is a little ragged out. It is definitely showing some wear. This is fairly comparable to the last D2 knife that we did. The last D2 knife, it showed about the same kind of wear at the end of 4 hours. And this is definitely significantly better than the old 440 from 1980. The heat treatment's better, and it just holds on to its edge a lot longer. The vintage 440 took about 2.5 hours of cutting before we really did need to strop it. The cut on the paper was getting really ragged and nasty. But let's go ahead and strop this thing back to life, simply because I added more grit progression to these strops. On this strop with the old Harbor Freight buffing compound, I put 20 micron into 14 micron so I could drop down into 10, 5, and 2.5. But, if you haven't checked out a live stream, I would love it if you did. We always have a lot of fun with those. There's a lot of just screwing around in the comments, and of course, half the reason I'm doing that is so I can hang out with you guys and shoot the breeze. They're always fun and entertaining, and as often as not, we get somebody from other countries that has a lot of questions about, knives and all that in the U.S., and those questions are always interesting to answer. And of course, we find out a little bit about how the laws work in other countries, which is also quite interesting. We've got a general idea how things go in the UK, we got a general idea how things go in Australia, but there's also a lot of the finer nuances and stuff like that that we don't get. Like we don't get whether or not those laws are tightly enforced in some countries. Like, I know where I live. For the longest time, the blade length limit was pretty much 3 inches, but no one really cared that much. It was borderline unenforced unless you were caught doing something else, or, the cops, which predictably do in fact do, were looking for something to hit you with, because unfortunately where I'm at and where I lived at the time, they really liked feeding their probation and jail system and keeping you on probation so you were paying them fines. So, it's always interesting learning about stuff like that. And someone did point out, and, it's better articulated than I've thought about how I could make it, but, it's fun learning this stuff as I go. Instead of coming into this as an expert, I'm learning this stuff as I go. And someone mentioned that's probably the most fun part of watching this channel, which I totally understand. That's actually one of the reasons I watch a bunch of the channels I do, like How to Make Everything. If you haven't seen that channel, you should. He is basically running a project, or the whole point behind the videos he's doing right now is he's trying to basically rebuild modern society with modern accoutrement, more or less. Going from the Stone Age to the Industrial Age, all that, and I think he's reached the early Industrial Age with, water power and, what is it? Basically, like, yeah, water power with the wheel turning the crank and stuff like that. So, like, he's doing that kind of stuff, and it's always very interesting to see what he comes up with, especially because he's going in not knowing much, but he's gone through and gotten his own ores. He's gotten through and, gotten his own copper, stuff like that. And, it's always interesting. Always interesting. So I kind of agree with that sentiment. Like, I am definitely learning this stuff as I go. Like, I'm learning about how to strop better. And, of course, I've said it many times now, but the strop is really, really important if you're looking for super fine edges. It, with good grip progression and the right stropping material, like in my case it's diamond paste, and it lets you strop stuff up to ridiculously sharp, and a good stropping can really extend the time between full-on sharpenings, unless you're in like a super abusive environment that just annihilates an edge in no time flat. But in that case, you probably should be using like a hard use steel, something that's going to hold up to the use, but is also very hard to sharpen back up. And of course, at some point, I'm looking forward to wearing out some of my nicer knives, which is going to take forever. They don't get carried often because they're really nice, and I'm scared to death of dropping them that first time. But, seeing what a strop can do to bring those back to life. Because, of course, a knife like that, the way I carry and where I work and stuff like that, it would take probably months upon months to really wear the edge out on something like M390, S35 VN, stuff like that. We haven't done 14C28N on a cardboard slayer properly. That Sativian ST155 that I had to put up because it was starting to hurt too much to use, like the ergos were that bad. We did that 14C28N, but we didn't get the full 4 hours on it. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to. That being said, I'd like to find a cheap 14C28N knife to do that with. The only 14C28N I know that I have is on that Monicala Assault Team 1 with the titanium. And sooner or later, I'll probably just grab that one. I just don't really want to mess up one of my favorite... It's one of my favorite daily carry knives when I have the time to carry it. It's just such a good knife, and I kind of don't want to wreck the edge on it. At least not yet. But I don't think the edge is going to get wrecked. It's just, kind of one of those things where I'm still a little timid with the knives that I like more than others. One of the reasons this stuff goes in the box to be selected for live streams is they're knives I don't care to carry that much. Like, I don't carry them that much, and I'm looking at the blade steel itself more than the edge profile, or more than the knife as a whole. We are looking at edge profiles and stuff like that, but, it is what it is. Sooner or later, I'll start getting into those things. But let's take a look at what that quick strop did. yeah, so this is the difference a proper strop can make, as long as I can get these cuts right. Unfortunately, under the camera, it's way easier to bork these cuts than it is holding it up not on camera, and I wish that wasn't the case. But yeah, like, a strop can make a huge difference and turn something that's fairly dull into something that shaves. As a matter of fact, where is it? I took a knife that I made, and those of you that have been around for a while have seen it a few times. But I made this. I made the raindrop Damascus board. I spent a couple afternoons on it, and then I found a massive delamination in the center. So I just tossed it off to the side and never finished it. I never put an edge on it or anything else. But last night I went through those same strops and I spent a good bit of time with it. And let's see if I can cut this without borking it. You know, that's off of the strop. That's not grinding an edge on there. That's not finishing the damn thing off. That's just stropping it from the zero grindish that I did. And of course that cut goes bad. You know, that's just a strop with the diamond paste. And Jesus, I can't get that cut to go right. Yeah, there you go. So it's, again, when you hold the paper up and you cut it when you're not on camera, it goes a ton better. It's just when it's on camera being held between here and the table, which I might have 9 inches of space to work with, those cuts are so much harder. But, you know, really, I just wanted to do my aftermath video and let you know how this did and how the 440C did. And again, I don't mess with Ganzo that much. I have like 3 of them that I bought from the before times. And it's like I never know if I'm buying a clone or not, so I don't mess with them. But yeah, that's how this thing did with Cardboard Slayer. It's going to go back in the box until I find another use for it. But all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all are still showing up for me. And we're getting closer and closer to 1,000. I think we're like 49 away right now, and then doing the giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. And I'm looking forward to doing that. Like, we got one of my favorite budget knives. We got 2 of the G10 kits to give away. So that's going to be fun. And at least that's more knives than I had to give away, thanks to the courtesy of Jin to send me stuff to take a look at. But yeah, you guys, thank you so much. It's humbling. I appreciate it. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this 440C and how it did, or, you know, anything else you can think of that you want to ask about. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.